Morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's edition of the MPC Markets Morning Call. I'm Mark Gardner. It's 7th of April, 2026. Now, we've obviously had a long weekend. I hope everyone had a really good long weekend. And we've got a fair bit to get through this morning. The conflict tracker overall, we've really seen most of the the attacks intensify and increase. We've had the US essentially have and Iran have above average levels of attack. We're now up to what was 55 odd a day is now 85 a day for Iran. What was 300 is now down to about 200 odd for the US and Israel. But we, as we're sort of seeing quite often, where there is not a there's not a great deal of there's not a great continuity with what Trump's doing overall, and essentially with this days to normal supply just keeps compounding basically. We're now at 36 days to normal supply. If a peace deal was struck today, we're like roughly about 24 hours out from Trump's yet again. He's yet another deadline, and basically the market's just tiring from it. So instead, I think the Trump administration is trying to coin a new phrase, "Tata." Trump always tries again. I think, to try and, you must hate taco, but this is an example of, Trump always, I've attempted my own, which is a poor one, but Trump always delays deadlines, tariffs in China and Mexico, Russia-Ukraine peace deal, Strait of Hormuz. He's just got this track record of extended, caved. There was deadline set. We've got, the current deadline, where China deal's been extended 3 times. We're a year out from the initial sort of 30-day deadlines for tariffs. So essentially you can't really believe anything that he's saying overall, but he just keeps reloading. I think the market generally, the oil market and the stock market were both up over the course of the weekend, particularly Friday. You've actually got WTI now at 113, which was a significant rally from that address that he gave the nation in prime time. And you've seen national gasoline prices over there as well. As much as Trump says that it doesn't affect them, they're a net exporter. There is a little bit of a not anomaly, but if you dig into the stats. Petroleum exporter is really they include all these fringe things and offcuts and waste materials and all sorts of stuff like that. So refined petroleum to gasoline, they actually are a net importer, and obviously they're Exxon, Chevron, and these guys aren't going to, out of the goodness of their heart, they're not going to turn around and just sell to the American public, when they can sell offshore for much higher prices. So we've just done, I've done a bit of Brent and WTI at the moment. That number's a little bit low. WTI is around about right. Pump price is $4 a gallon, days to normal supply, and what this inflation effect's going to have over 3 months, and 6 months overall. And look, it's going to have a moderate, very high for emerging markets, very high for the Eurozone, high for Eurozone and emerging markets, very high for Japan and South Korea, pretty critical for India and Pakistan, hence why they're playing piggy in the middle, and fairly moderate for China. So the 2 biggest users of crude, it will only have a moderate effect. However, I think people underestimate what the inflation effect, the longer this drags on. And then, you've had the likes of Albanese over the weekend saying, and yet again, just absolutely repeating the mistakes of the past with over subsidizing, critical industries in Australia, like farming, etc., which I'm sure, as we look back, will be an absolute disaster, like it was in COVID as well. The smart people with good accountants will end up taking the piss, and then we'll end up with some sort of royal commission again. But it's going to affect food. It's going to affect transport. We all know this stuff. Food, fertilizer, helium as well for chips. But they've got but the longer we drag this out, I mean, at 37 odd days now, we're looking at sort of late May, and for this to return to normal, if there was a deal struck tomorrow or today, which the Iranians have looked like they have no intention of doing, then if we are looking at sort of June, then some of these ship makers are going to start to get pretty nervous in terms of their the natural gas and helium they need. So this is only last night's net change. It was pretty speckled. We do have earnings coming up, not this week, but the following week. They're going to start because of the Easter break. They would normally start at the end of this week with the banks, but they're going to start from Monday with sort of the likes of Goldman Sachs, etc. Next week. But as you can sort of see overall, I mean, Micron had a bit of a bounce back. I mean, there's nothing really you can come off a lead there. We have bounced back. We've bounced back quite considerably in terms of where we were. Like the futures were down 1 to 1.5% in the stocks on Friday afternoon or Thursday afternoon. They bounced back to being unchanged, which is that takes the cake as the most surprising move I've ever seen in 30 years of doing this. Particularly with crude maintaining, that 112 mark as well. So, yeah, I mean, as you can see here, we're starting to turn back a little bit. You've got Euro stocks, Dow, S&P, Nasdaq, and Russell, anywhere from sort of up 3 to up nearly 5% on a 5-day basis. And the Aussie about 2.5%, the Nikkei about 2 and a bit. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think that the market's just generally tiring, completely tiring of Trump's crap overall, and not tending to not listen to him. I mean, just that completely erratic, post he put out on Truth Social with, praise be to Allah and open the effing Strait, etc. Just shows how frustrated he is. I did see an interview from the BBC over the weekend. The British were not impressed. It was very, undiplomatic and staring down their nose at Trump. He also threatened a whole bunch of things like throwing a journalist in jail and blah blah blah. All at the Easter, the kids' Easter thing at the White House with a happy soundtrack playing in the background, which was like someone had sort of done a bit of a joke. So it's a scattered mess. They've had 2 F-35s go down on the weekend as well. They've managed to rescue both the pilots, thankfully, and but overall, where there's now conjecture as to whether does Iran have technology they didn't know about, or was it just a lucky strike? We've also had the Ukrainians hit a Red Sea or a major Russian refinery over the weekend as well, which is going to dent supply. So I can't really see oil pulling back too much, but the major moves have generally been not in our time zone overall. So I'd be thinking that if you're long oil, we're long oil, futures here, triple O ETF. You'd be more than considering if there is some sort of peace deal made or even negotiations. It's probably not going to happen in our time zone. It's probably going to happen in the European or the US time zones. So you want to be pretty mindful and get ahead of managing the risk on your positions overall. And that goes for if you've got Woodside or Santos, etc., in the Aussie market. The SPY was showing up about 5 points, or 0.5% overall. And we're really looking at, we've got yet another deadline. I guess we've just got to wait at the end of the day. So for those of you who are interested, our portfolio Guardian has gotten really good feedback. Prism, the Portfolio Guardian, which is our new software that analyzes portfolios. And it's an app that sort of we've developed alongside Mosaic. If you scan that code there, you can, for free of charge, you get a free review, no catches. It's obviously a little bit easier for us to do it with having some software to do it, and it gives you clarity around your portfolio, some alignments around our house themes and strategies and notes moving forward. So you can just scan that code there. Or you can probably find the form somewhere in our socials, or email your portfolio to portfolio@mpcmarkets.com.au, and Mosaic as well. Keep up to date. We've got a lot of these really good, the Iran conflict tracker, which is what those first two maps were at the start, is being updated daily. That obviously goes out before the is only available in Mosaic. And those inflation data numbers as well, and a few other bits and pieces, as well as the recommendations that land in the palm of your hand. So you can get Mosaic free, and you can get the content and the interactive research reports, etc., and the education and news. Then, if you want the recommendations, if you're a Mosaic subscriber, we'll give you a 1 month free trial, so you can test out having the recommendations as well. So don't expect too much out of today necessarily. We'll just find our feet again a little bit. We'll just have to watch out for any more erratic, Trump announcements, etc., and just sort of be wary of the broader situation. But look at this. At this point, I mean, the key things are inflation. You got to work out, the longer this goes on, how much it's going to affect inflation, the outlook on rates, whether that's going to dent growth or whether it's just going to be transitory inflation, which is going to either keep rates higher or then actually pivot like it did in the 90s and bring them lower. We've got private credit bubbling in the background. There's a lot going on at the moment. And you need to keep on top of it. But what you don't want to do is just watch the Trump announcements and headlines. The best way we've navigated through this, and we've done quite well through this period, is just going to the facts, not going to what's been said from either side. I mean, Iran is currently batting at a much higher percentage of truth. However, they're both guilty of spitting out what feeds their propaganda machines. So, you need to be looking at the stats like troop movements, like attack numbers, like the cumulative effect and days to normal for oil, and how many ships are actually getting through Hormuz. We are seeing ships get through with an alternative route, and a few more getting through to China as well, which may alleviate it. So you got to keep on top of the numbers, not the BS that's being dished out by the various administrations, on both sides, or on all three sides with Israel as well. So, look, have a great day. Well worth getting a portfolio review, and staying on top of these sorts of things. And we'll speak again tomorrow.